New signs that Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney may be ready to take off the boxing gloves when it comes to a key opponent in the race for the White House. We're talking about the Texas governor, Rick Perry. Listen to this.
I'm a conservative businessman. I spent most of my life outside politics, dealing with real problems in the real economy. Career politicians got us into this mess, and they simply don't know how to get us out.
All right, let's talk about this in our strategy session with two CNN political contributors, Democratic strategist James Carville and Republican consultant Alex Castellanos. Guys, thanks very much. James, sounds like a little swipe at a career politician named Rick Perry, the governor of Texas.
Yeah, it wasn't much of an attack, and I'm sure they'll point out that had he won in 1994 when he ran for the Senate against Ted Kennedy, he'd be a career politician too. So, you know, they're going to have to come after Perry at some point. I think this is like you're watching a boxing match and just like throwing a lame left out there that's not going to do much damage. My sense of it. I'm curious to see what Alex has to say about it.
Is it fair to call him a career politician, Rick Perry, Alex?
Well, I think Perry, since he was about 34 years old, I think he's been in politics, so he's been in there a pretty long time. So if it's not his career, he must have a night job.
But you believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, that Mitt Romney actually needs Rick Perry in this Republican contest.
I actually do, Wolf. You know, right now, confidence in consumer confidence in this country has fallen off a cliff since the debt ceiling debate. Confidence in Washington is a big part of that. We've lost a lot of confidence in our political system and our leaders. It's like things are spinning out of control, our economy, our government, and nobody in Washington can do anything about it. This election, we don't want hope and change, we want strong leadership. And there's a question, you know, Perry certainly displays that. He knows what he thinks. There's a question about that for Mitt Romney. Voters don't really know yet, even though he went through the last campaign, who he is, what he believes in. And he needs a victory. He needs to beat someone to become someone. So he's got 10 debates with Rick Perry over the next 3 months, I think. And we're going to have to see them post up there. But he needs to win against Rick Perry, not just to get votes, but to become a strong leader. Are
these two guys going to really go after each other, James? What do you think?
Of course they have to. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, Perry, you know, Alex makes an excellent point there. You know, he's not going to look strong beating Michelle Bachmann. I don't think the field could have stayed that way, but if he does beat Perry, you know, Perry looks like a strong guy, you know, nice-looking, big Texan, you know, that kind of thing, and to some extent, but he's got to beat him, and we're going to have to see. I think these debates are going to be critical. I'm surprised at Tim Plenty. He just got clocked with one bad debate. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, I think the lesson this year on the Republican side is you know, you got to come to play it. You can get hurt early here.
Well, I think James' point about Tim Pawlenty is important. You know, this year we can have divisions in the Republican Party. A lot will be forgiven. But the one thing you cannot display is weakness. And when Pawlenty didn't go after Romney, that's what I think voters sensed. Strong leadership, that's what the candidate Republicans are looking for this year.
One blunder like that cost Tim Pawlenty any chance for this Republican nomination. Guys, stand by. We have much more to discuss. Our strategy session will continue after a short with James and Alex. James, let me read to you Dana Milbank from his column today on the aftermath of FEMA. Tea Partiers who denounce big government seem to have an abstract notion that government spending means welfare programs and bloated bureaucracies. Almost certainly they aren't thinking about hurricane tracking and pre-positioning of FEMA supplies. But if they succeed in paring the government, some of these Tea Partiers, particularly those on the coast or on the tornadic plains, may be surprised to discover that they have turned a Hurricane Irene government back into a Katrina government. What do you think he has a point?
Well, I think, honestly, I think it matters if you have, you know, an Arabian horse show guy, and you're not going to do that well. Scott Fugate, I think is his name, is a professional disaster relief man, as was James Lee Witt. And, you know, it matters how government performs and who's running the show and how it responds. And I think those guys at the National Hurricane Center are pretty good. I know I got a lot of confidence in them. Going to get everything precisely right? No. But are they top-rate scientists? Yeah, they're pretty good. And, you know, I think it matters.
You think that Milbank has a good point?
Well, I think he's right about one thing. There are a lot of Republicans out there who say reduce the size of government, but don't mess with my Medicare or Social Security. So certainly a lot of Republicans bought into that too. But I think Dana's confused about the point that James just made, I thought, which was excellent, which is there's a difference between bigger government and better government. As far as I know, the U.S. government, when Katrina hit, was still about the second largest employer in the world. I think only the Chinese army was bigger. You know, we were still spending trillions of dollars, a $1 trillion budget. We still had, I think, trillions in debt. So the government was plenty big when Katrina hit. It just wasn't doing a very good job. And I think in this day and age, when things are moving so fast and have to be so efficient, you wonder if big old dumb industrial age government doesn't need to be reinvented for a new day.
I've been hearing about reinventing government for as long as I've been a reporter, but
it's hard to do.
Al Gore.
Yeah, of course.
Al Gore, but you know, you got a feeling today, though, Wolf, that you could replace a lot of what's going on in this town with about 3 good websites.
But you know, Alex makes a good point. I think it's a fair point. A lot of people who criticize big government, they say, you know, we hate big government, but don't touch Social Security, don't touch Medicare, don't touch the military. Well, if you don't touch those 3 areas, James, that's a big part of the big government.
Well, it is. Basically, the government is an insurance company that has a military. I mean, if you look at what he really spends money, I thought it was interesting. Is Senator John Thune in South Dakota, which is as red as any state gets, said the leading thing that he heard in town hall meetings is don't touch my Social Security and Medicare. And, I mean, it's a little bit of what Senator Long used to say, don't tax you, don't tax me, tax the guy behind the tree. If you could say the same thing about cuts. I mean, and I think that's a very valid point. But again, in this disaster relief, it doesn't make any sense for Alice's hometown, Miami, or mine, New Orleans, to be prepared for a Category 5 hurricane, or Los Angeles to be prepared for an 8.5 Richter scale event. But it does make sense that the federal government has the resources to help people when something like this happens. I think it's eminently sensible.
Which is probably why we shouldn't spend trillions of dollars on stimuluses that don't work. We might need to save that money for a rainy day.
All right, guys.
The CBO today said it's 3.3 million jobs, so you argue with them, not me.
Created or saved? Is that right, James?
Some saved, I don't know, whatever the word is.
All right. James Carville, Alex Castellanos, guys.